Well, good morning. It is March the 31st, 2025. And straight from the Highly Caffeinated Studio, this is According to Willie B. And I, Will Bryce, am your host for the next, let's call it half hour. So I'm excited about today's show. Why? Why am I excited? I've said this before. I'm excited because I get to tell you about the trip to Texas. So I get to take you along on a little virtual trip to Texas. And had waited so many months for this trip. Hadn't been since last year, and we planned it several times, and things kept coming up. But I digress. But finally got to take the Texas trip, and so I'm excited to tell all of you about that. But there's a second reason that I'm excited this morning to tell you about this, because it is also going to be an episode on Culinary Highway. What? You haven't checked that out yet? Come on, man. It's easy. All you gotta do, go to YouTube and go to Culinary Highway. It's at Culinary Highway on YouTube, and it's right there. And you could also go to our website, accordingtowillieb.com, and there you go. Everything you need to know that comes out of the highly caffeinated studio. I correct myself because I'm not exactly highly caffeinated yet. I'm on the second cup, but hey, you know what? There's hope. Uh, there was some hope in the first cup. It was probably more like dreams, but hey, we're getting there. Okay, we're not enough about the coffee. Enough about my habits. Uh, I am excited because it is going to be the second episode on Culinary Highway. It'll be titled "The Tour of Texas" because we visited so many towns while we were there, and you'll find out the purpose for that here in a moment when we go through this podcast. But definitely check out Culinary Highway. We're on social media just the same as we are according to Willie B. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. All the good stuff, and you won't miss any pictures or ridiculousness that I post. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on into uh, the tour of Texas, as we say. So, have you ever been on a vacation, regardless of how many days it was, right? It could be 2 days, it could be 10 days. But when you returned home, you felt like you had just stepped off a merry-go-round, and you're like, what the heck just happened? I mean, one minute I was on a plane going on my trip, and then the next minute I'm back home. Where did all the middle go? Where did the parts that I was excited about go? They just flew by. And we were there almost a week, and it just absolutely disappeared. It's kind of like when you work all week and you get a weekend, and it's like poof, it's gone, And this is the way this trip was. And maybe it was because I waited for it so long. I don't know. We're not going to analyze that, but I will tell you it was kind of a crazy trip, and that's probably why it went by so fast, or felt like it did, because we flew into DFW, and for those that are not very familiar with Texas, DFW is the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and their big airport there is actually two. We didn't actually fly into DFW. We flew into a little smaller airport called Love Field. But enough of that. So we flew into Love Field, and the reason we flew into Dallas, knowing that we had to be in Houston and East Texas the following days, was our good friends Danny and Kelly are there, and so it would have been an absolute faux pas on my part had we traveled all the way to Texas and not seen them, because the distance between North Carolina and Texas is way longer than I would like for it to be. But we flew into Love Field, and we were scheduled to have dinner with them, and Danny and I have been friends since kindergarten, and we're about like brothers when you get us together. It's always a great time, a lot of laughs. So they had picked the restaurant, and I have never, and this is impressive, and I didn't realize this until just now. it's impressive because of all the times that they have picked a restaurant. I have never been disappointed. Now, of you that know me really well know that that's a feat just to do it once, because I get disappointed in restaurants a lot. And if it was lackluster in any way, I'm not going to get on social media and talk about it, whether in a good way or a bad way. I'm just not going to mention it because I have a reputation of, if I tell you that something is really good, then you really need to go check it out. So there's that. But so I've never been disappointed in any restaurant that they picked, and this one was no exception. It was called Zack's Bistro, Zacks. Now, I'm one of these people that's a true foodie. I start salivating from the time I put the location in the GPS, thinking about what they have and what I'm going to eat and how good it's going to be. So I can tell you, when I drove up in the parking lot, the facade of the restaurant had me fooled, because I looked and I thought, I don't know about this one. And it wasn't that I thought it was going to be bad. I just could not get a mental grasp on what I was in for. But when I walked in the door, everything came into clear vision. And it was a very nice laid out bistro. I liked the way they had it decorated. They had some really creative vibes going on when they put together that bistro in that size space, and I was really impressed. And the food did not disappoint either. Um, their food, their service, everything was just over the top. And I'm sorry, I'm a meat and taters guy, and I'm gonna tell you the first thing that impressed me food wise was the mashed potatoes. Holy cow! That those things, that should be like an entree, because I'm telling you, that was some of the best mashed potatoes. I don't know what they do to the potatoes in the back, but man, I don't know if they ship them in from another planet or what. But man, they were good. But the food was really good. The company we had was even better. We had a great time, had a great meal. If you're anywhere near DFW, especially around the Arlington area, definitely go check out Zack's Bistro. They do a phenomenal job, and their service is top notch. And it's for I always like it when a mom and pop restaurant brings all of the elements together. They bring the food, they bring the service, they bring the atmosphere, the whole package, and it's just awesome. And I just, my hat is off to Zack's Bistro, and my hat is off to Danny and Kelly for picking such a great restaurant. Unfortunately, though, I'll throw this disclaimer in. Danny had gotten sick and wasn't able to make it to dinner. I was bummed, but things happen in life, and we move on. So we had to be in Houston the next morning, so we weren't able. We had first planned on having breakfast the next morning at this really cool breakfast place, and I hope to bring that to you in a later episode. So we left DFW that night after dinner and drove all the way into Houston. And that's because my wife had to work one day on our vacation because her company said, hey, we need you to go do an audit. I'm like, oh. So, okay, so, you make the best of it. So I dropped her off the next morning, and I headed out to go see some of my old customers when I was in food service sales. And with me, if you know me, it's very easy to make friends with me, and you can get really quickly go from being my friend to almost like your family, and that's what these people are to me that I went and visited. They are friends that are like family to me, and I always try to see the best in people, and sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes people make that difficult, but we're not going to talk about that. So I went to a little town called Burton, Texas. Now, if you've never been to Burton, Texas, I'm going to tell you, you're missing out. And if you're from Burton, you're going, dude, we're like a little small town. We really don't have that much. I disagree. I totally disagree because Burton is like the little town that is like a in a it's like it has a big town vibe almost to me, but it is in a way it's how can I describe this? The people of Burton are so tight knit, and if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you an example. So in Burton, Texas, there is a coffee shop, and it's called Neon Moon. It's one of my absolute favorite coffee shops, and the guy that runs that place is Carl. And if you go to Neon Moon Coffee Shop, make sure you tell Carl I said hello and that you know me, and my status will probably get you a free lid for your coffee cup. I mean, that's all the status I have. I'm sorry. But I will tell you that he is very proficient in coffee because guess this, he roasts his own coffee in the shop. That's right. Right there in the shop, he roasts the coffee. He's very knowledgeable about the beans that he uses. Different how I don't think you could name a drink that man doesn't know how to make if it's made out of coffee. Um, they've got muffins and some pastries and stuff like that. They're actually made local, and it's just a really good vibe. But what I'm telling you is go in there and sit in the morning and you will see how tight knit this town is because they come in there and everybody knows everybody. I mean, literally, everybody knows everybody. They either live next door to them or down the street from them. Um, so if you spend too much time sitting at Burton, oops, sorry about that, uh, sitting at Burton Coffee Shop, and you find yourself at either you want breakfast or you want lunch, if you've sat there that long, which I have before, there is a little place as you go down the street, literally, make a left and go around the curve, and you will find Burton Shortstop. It is almost like a halo above this place, and I'm not kidding when I tell you about this place. This is the place to go in Burton. You want lunch? They got you. They got burgers. They got chicken fried steak. They got Philly. They got daily specials. They do fried fish. I mean, the list goes on, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And you pull up and you think, "Oh, this is a gas station." No, no. It you just get out of your car and walk on in there, and you're going to be shocked at what you see. And there's going to be this, like I said, this there's footage of all this that'll be in the episode on Culinary Highway, but there's some pictures that I can throw up on our social media later today. But let me tell you, this is a when I say family run business, it is family run. It is family owned. They they basically almost live there, I think. But if you know when you go, because I know you're going to hear me and you're going to listen to this, and you're going, you know what? Why don't you put Burton Shortstop in the GPS and let's just go and head on over there. I can tell you that Kathy, the owner, her son Brody, they are phenomenal people, not only to do business with, but to know. I not only call them friends, I call them family. They're just phenomenal people. But get this. Let's say that you've been at Neon Moon Coffee, got your pastry, right? You went over to Burton Shortstop, had lunch, and now the sun is starting to set. So yes, you've spent all day in Burton. And I'm going to tell you some more things to do there. So hold on. Next door to Burton Shortstop is their newest venture called Burton Shortstop Ice House. So if you've scuffled around Burton all day and gotten your boots dusty and you worked up a thirst, then Burton Shortstop Ice House is the place to go because they have live music and you can kick the dust off your boots and get you something to drink and you have made a well-rounded day. Now I know you're thinking, okay, well, what else is there to do? What else is there to do in Burton? They have not one but two museums. That's what I told you. It's a little bitty town, but they got two museums. And one is the Railroad Museum, and really cool. And it's also kind of like their visitor center. See, small town, big mind, because they small town they got a visitor center. How many small towns do you know have a visitor center? And then they have the cotton. They anteed up, and they have the Cotton Gin Museum, and they have a cotton gin um, like festival every year. And you have to go on Google and check out the dates of when that is and everything. But I mean, it's just a really cool town, and you could actually spend the entire day there. You spend the first part of it, Neon Moon, go to Burton Shortstop, and then go to Ice House, check out the museums. Now, I'm going to give a side note on the museums. I got an email. It wasn't scathing, but it was to the point, and I admire this listener for sending me this email in the form that he did. But he was very to the point, and I won't read it verbatim for time purposes, but I will tell you, he called me out, and he said, I love listening to your podcast, and you always got to love it when there's a but you always talk about museums in the areas that you go, and then you go, oh, but I don't like museums, so I didn't go there. He said, that's messed up. He said, because we love listening to your podcast to get travel ideas. And, you need to at least, even if you don't like it, your listeners might like museums. Maybe you should start doing one or two museums every now and then. I don't think it would kill you. And I gotta admire his frankness in this email. But it was done in a good tone. He wasn't mean. But he was very to the point. And you know what? He's right. 100% right. So, yes, yours truly, moving forward, will visit a museum, at least one, on upcoming trips. So, be ready for my take on a museum. This should be interesting. And, I tell every one of you that listen, you can send me an email. You can send me a text. You can send me messages on social media or whatever. But this person went all the way to the trouble to send me an email to at accordingtowillieb@gmail.com. And I thought, wow, that he went to all the trouble to send an email. This guy's serious, and so I took it serious. So if you have any thoughts, suggestions, whatever, arguments, I don't care. Send them to me. I love getting the mail. I love reading through it and reading the opinions. And most of the time it's just, hey, love your podcast. Thanks for, this was my favorite episode or that was my favorite episode. So, I absolutely love it. So keep it up. And if you don't ask, you don't get, right? All right. So I left Burton. We can't spend the entire podcast on Burton. I could. I left Burton and went on into Bryan College Station. Now, what I'm going to tell you is when you're at Burton, you are close to two other things that are phenomenal. One of them is in a little town called Cochran. Now, I don't even think there's a stop sign in the town. There might be. But there's a little cafe out there, and it's called Cochran Grill. Cochran. It is owned and ran by Chef Mary Helen. Let me tell you, don't let the facade of this place fool you. You think, oh, this is a little country diner. No, it's not. Chef Mary Helen turns out some of the most amazing food you'll ever put in your mouth. She's got some crab cakes, man, and she makes her own version of a remoulade. Oh, wow, man. I could bathe in that stuff. It's good stuff. But I didn't get to go by there because she was closed on the day that I was in town. So I was really bummed because I was hoping to see her. But hopefully next time. But definitely go check out Cochran Grill. The other thing that's out there by Burton that you definitely want to Google this is Round Top Antique Festival. It is the largest antique festival in the United States, period. So you go Google that Round Top Antique Festival, and it's absolutely insanity. There's your entire weekend right there. You can take a break from searching antiques and drive into Burton. You can take a break from antiques and drive over to Cock and Grill. You can go into Belleville. There's so many just little small towns around there that you just got to check out. It's absolutely a phenomenal weekend. But I headed on into Bryan College Station. Yes, that's where Texas A&M is, or one of their locations. And I had some friends there that were co-workers and turned into friends and became almost like family. And so they wanted to get together for a burger. And there's only one place in Bryan College Station to go for that burger, and that is Koppe Bridge, Koppe. There are two locations. It is a family run. It's mom and pop, as I like to say. And the burgers are phenomenal. But get this, the guy doesn't buy frozen French fries. No, he buys taters. Taters. Yes, taters. You might call them potato, but potato, tater. But he uses fresh taters and cuts his own. Mm. That's some good stuff. And you guess what? The hamburger, the meat patty is not frozen. No. It is good, and you can get it however you want to. Um, I had mine with bacon and grilled fresh jalapenos. Wow! And there was a slice of fresh tomato on there. Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm drooling on the mic. But anyway, you check them out. Koppe Bridge. There's two locations there in Bryan College Station, and really great times with some great friends, catching up and talking about the big old world of food service. So at about that time, it was the day had progressed, and it was time for me to go pick up the wife from her work uh, thing that she had to do in Houston, and then we continued on what we were calling our vacation finally. But it just turned to be so quick, and we had stayed in Livingston, and then we had to progress on into Lufkin. Um, Now, when I say Lufkin, it there is there's a small town that is actually a pretty decent sized town. It's had some industry that have slipped away from it, and it's kind of taken its toll on it. But there are some signs that kind of says that they may be coming back to their heyday. Um, but one of the things that I love about Lufkin is they have a zoo. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, small town. What they got they got a barn owl and a coyote? No, they got giraffes, they got hippos, and my grandson absolutely loves every square inch of that zoo. They got a steam train, right? And it's like the scale that is perfect for that zoo. It runs every day, unless it's raining, of course. But they got their own train. I mean, a small town zoo. I mean, they got a big pond. They got a pavilion where you can have picnics and etc. Birthday parties. Wow, check them out. Go on Google and look it up. I'm telling you, it is absolutely phenomenal. Um, but my son knows that I absolutely just love, and love is not a strong enough word, good Texas fajitas. And there's a place called Tia Juanita's Fish Camp. I know that threw you off. But it's like a Mexican food place ran into a seafood place and just collided. But the food is phenomenal. It's just the fajitas, wow. So tender. Just, I mean, like cotton candy. And they're cooked over a wood flame pit. And that makes it even better, man. You get some flavors in there that just blow your mind. But you talk about fajitas that are fire. Oh man, I would fly to Texas just for a plate of those fajitas. But absolutely we love Tia Juanita's Fish Camp. We eat there every time we go to Texas. And there's another place that we ate at the next that after we had got rained on at the zoo. and it was called Pelican Point, and it's a seafood place. I had the fried alligator tacos. It just seemed fitting for a foodie, you know. Hey, tacos are always good. It doesn't have to be Taco Tuesday, but man, fried alligator and tacos, oh, and then they had this slaw with this. Oh, it's just it's just absolutely phenomenal. Now, there's one, or actually, there's two other foods that I'm going to dive off and tell you about real quick because I see the clock and we're nearing our end. But there's two more things I got to tell you. One is Shipley Donuts. If you've never had, and I don't want to hear Krispy Kreme, I don't want to hear any of these other ones. I don't want to hear it because if you haven't had Shipley Donuts, you haven't had a donut yet. I, I'm not kidding. And someone left the proverbial gate open in Texas, and my Shipley Donuts that were only a Texas thing, kind of like Bluebell, uh, slipped out. And now there's Shipley Donuts. There's one in California. Oh, an abomination. Hey, and then now there's one in South Carolina. I'm like, what is going on? You know, first you sell my Whataburger out to California, and then now you're shipping my Shipley Donuts everywhere. But you got to get it hot. Get there in the morning early and get you one of those hot Shipley Donuts. Oh, they just melt. I mean, you could pick one up out of the box, and they have this droop. And if you don't know about the Shipley Donut droop, oh man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna wind up and ruin this mic because I'm just drooling all over it. But and the other thing that I dearly love in Texas. Now, these are really good, okay? But understand, these are not the best. The best tamales you will ever eat are in San Antonio, Texas. And I'll have to make a trip there just so that I could do an entire episode on tamales because there's so many different tamale makers down there in San Antonio and they're just, oh, wow. But the ones that I get out of Lufkin are from La Unica. That's Launica. And La Unica makes a really good breakfast tacos and they make phenomenal tamales. And yes, I had 3 dozen. I wanted to make sure that, I had to get my fill. I didn't eat them all at one time. As a matter of fact, I had to leave some with my son because by the time we had to leave the next day, we didn't get them all eaten. But, oh, I got my share. Oh, let me tell you. So I was able to get my donut fix, my fajita fix, and my tamale fix. You know, I actually didn't do the old Whataburger chain. Normally I would have, but now they're everywhere, and I don't know. They're just not the same since they sold out. You tell me what you think. But like I said, make sure you're looking for the episode coming up later this week. On Culinary Highway. It'll be the tour of Texas, and there'll be so many pictures and video that you will be drooling on your device that you're watching it on. I guarantee it. But until next week, until we meet again on this here podcast from the Highly Caffeinated Studio, I bid you a good day, and don't forget to caffeinate and conquer. Check us out on all social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And when you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the Culinary Highway because you definitely don't want to miss that show that we're doing on YouTube. We've invested a lot in this, and it's going to just keep getting better and better and bigger and bigger. But like I say, we're out of time, and I will see y'all next week right here on According to Willie B in the Highly Caffeinated Studio. Have a great day.